be seated. Yes, as we heard before, that we are living in terrible time, troublous time we are living in. Grievous time, as the scripture said. When lawlessness is increased, no one wants the good, but they want the evil. They are clinging more to evil rather than the good. It is very terrible as we look on the outside what we are seeing. Man is only clinging to sin, their thoughts, their deeds. It is only about evil, nothing about the Creator or even His laws. As they preach that the law is done away with, they don't want to keep the laws of Almighty Yahweh, but they want to do what pleases them. And so sad they have chosen to take that road of destruction. Now we are blessed to be called by Almighty Yahweh to know the truth, and we should know it. What is truth and what is truth? And truth is the word of Almighty Yahweh. It is given to us, and we shall live by it. The world do not have that because they say it was done away with. If the truth is done, then they believe in lies. It's only lies outside there, lies upon lies. Christian, they are lying to one another. Even the young ones they are lying to break the commandment. Deuteronomy chapter 4, Yahweh commanded Israel, even though you go through this land, you must remember, you must take with you wherever you go the laws. It must be with you in your heart. Even to your children, he said that you must teach it diligently to them. What? Not about the world, about the truth, so that it may be well with you, so that you may gain blessing upon blessing. The world do not have blessing, because they reject the laws. They say that it's done away with. They put it aside. And yet they say that they are getting blessing. And now we shall listen to the statutes and to the ordinance which I have teach you, and do them. It was written there. Yahweh said it. That you must do them. It wasn't written here for us just to see it and just close up the Bible. It is for us to do it also. He said that you must do them, that you may live and go in and possess the land which Yahweh, your Elohim, of your fathers, is giving you. You want to go into that promised land? Well, you need the laws. Most of all, you must be able to keep my laws, each and every one of them, that I have given to you, in order to enter into that promised land. And so we are, as we marching through this land onto the kingdom. We cannot enter the kingdom of Almighty Yahweh without keeping His commandments. If we break them, He said that we will be outside. The laws are very important. We cannot break the laws of Almighty Yahweh and say and teach others that you're going to enter, that the Almighty will be merciful to you. And you will enter. He will have a place with you still. You do what you're doing. Yahweh has said it to His children, and He remind them again, my laws you shall keep it if you want to possess that land that I am given to you, that I am going to give to you. You shall not add to the word which I command you. It is not yours, it don't belongs to you. I give it to you. My laws, my word. You must not add to it. You cannot find a problem there. You should not have no problem with my word. Just do it, and all will be well with you. Just do it. You shall not add to the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish from it. You mustn't take away either. And so many saying that, yes, we call upon the name of Yahweh, and they are taking out pieces of Yahweh word, keeping some and then breaking some. That is not of Almighty Yahweh. That is of the false spirit, the adversary, the devil. That you may keep the commandments of Yahweh, your Elohim, which I command you today. He is commanding. Yahweh has never stopped speaking. He is living. He is forever speaking to His people. Israel did not listen. So today, as spiritual Israelite, he is still speaking to us as his people, that we must not tamper with the word of Yahweh. Don't go into things that doesn't belong to us. The word belongs to Almighty Yahweh. It is His. We cannot take out of that like it's ours. And say, well, we go do that and we wouldn't keep that. We go hold on to this and we wouldn't do that. Yahweh say, each and every word that come out of my mouth, you shall live by. You must do it in order to have life eternal also. The apostles speak about that, Lord, in the New Testament also. Your eyes have seen what Yahweh did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that follow after Baal Peor, they went out and did what? Break my commandments. They tampered. They went after strange, mighty ones, after false teaching. Which I said, you should keep the word, the truth. Don't go after false teaching. They went after it, and what happened to them? You saw it with your own eyes, what I did, because I have the power. You must not play games with Almighty Yahweh. For all the men that follow after Baal Peor, Yahweh Elohim had destroyed them from among you. He wiped them out to show you how powerful Almighty Yahweh is. He don't mix with sin, with false teaching, with false doctrine, with people that believes and teaches false doctrine also. He don't be among them. He destroys them and move them far away from among where his people. He clean it up. He don't want those rebellious people there that would not listen to his voice. But you that held fast to Yahweh, your Elohim are alive, every one of you today. How blessed you are. You see how it's important to keep the truth close to you, to believe in Almighty Yahweh. It gives life. It is, the word is the source of all life. It helps us. Never let anyone tell you or turn you from following after the truth, which is the word of Almighty Yahweh. And so many are preaching otherwise. They say the Lord done away with you will have life eternal. But without the laws of Almighty Yahweh, you are dying. You are going to die, perish. You would not enter into that rest eternal. But you that hold fast to Yahweh, your Elohim, our life, every one of you this day, behold, I have taught you statutes and ordinances, even as Yahweh my Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land where you go in to possess it. So even when they go there, your laws would have been still abiding. There's no difference. There's no difference. And you see right through the scriptures, the law was never done away with. It still remain there as the same, even though they go into this land, the law remain there. Can't see when we owe the land where we keep on the law and then we go there where there is no law. It remains the same with Almighty Yahweh. He does not change wherever you go throughout this world. The laws of Yahweh is still there. The word, the truth is still there. No man cannot change that. And it must abide. Behold, I have taught you these things. And Yahweh is teaching us today these high teachings that so many refuse to teach. So many refuse to hold up the word in spirit and in truth, but they water it down and compromise and teach false teaching. They turn it around and lead others down the pathway of destruction. The Yahweh is powerful, and we must not mix with false teachers and false teaching, but hold up the word of truth. Therefore keep and do them, for this is your wisdom. Again, we go back. You will be wiser than even these people of the world, and they will wonder, oh, where your wisdom is coming from. The world do not have this wisdom because they reject again and again the laws, the truth, the word of Almighty Yahweh, and your understanding in the sight of the nation. They should see it. and know that you are a blessed people. You are different because your wisdom and knowledge are higher than them. It is not from this earth, which Yahweh said. Wisdom of this world is foolishness. Cannot be of him. Surely therefore do them, that you shall hear all these statutes, and say, surely this people, great nation, is wise and understanding people. What a great nation is there that has an Elohim so close to them, as Yahweh our Elohim is whenever we call upon him. And this is what we have, a mighty one that is close to us, that is powerful, our true and living Elohim. He is not like those false dumb idols that is in the world. Because we believe and we have the truth that he is the existing mighty one. And we know it from the word that we read. And what a great nation is there that has statutes and ordinance, so righteous as all this law, which I set before you today. Yes, the laws of Almighty Yahweh, it is righteous, it is holy, it is pure. What a nation! The world don't have it. But we are blessed to have the laws of Almighty Yahweh that helps us, that give us life, even life eternal at the end. That help us to keep ourselves free from false teachers, from false doctrine, and always remain on the pathway of truth. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Say, therefore, seeing we have a ministry, even as we obtain mercy, we faint not, as we call to do the work of Almighty Yahweh. We should remain strong, despite of what comes our way. But we have renounced the hidden things of shame, not walking in craftiness, not handling the word of Yahweh deceitfully. So what we do, we should not use the word of Almighty Yahweh for our game, but hold it up with pure and clean hands, to be pleasing in the sight of Almighty Yahweh. With craftiness, we're using it as a game and for our own game, but by the manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man conscience in the sight of Yahweh. They shall see it. We mustn't speak it and not live it. But by our works and our deeds, others will see the word of Almighty Yahweh as truth, as plain, as bold as it is. Because we should not compromise or water down the word of Almighty Yahweh. And even if our message of good tidings is veiled, it is veiled to them that perish, them who doesn't want to accept it. It is for them that want to perish. But we do our best to preach a word with boldness, to hold up the word of Almighty Yahweh, to go out teaching others to fear Almighty Yahweh, and not to teach false teaching, like so many is doing, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of Yahweh deceitfully, and so many is doing, using the word of Yahweh, mixing it with false teaching, and preaching others. No, this is not what we are called to do, but preach the word of Yahweh with pureness in it. And we turn to chapter 2, verse 17. It says, for we are not as the many corrupting the word of Yahweh. There are so many that are doing that. By their deeds and their ways, we are not, and we should not be of the many that choose to do that, to corrupt the word of Almighty Yahweh. But we should stand fast, whatever Yahweh says, we're going to preach it. Because thus says Yahweh. And we're going to say the same, not saying differently. But as of sincerity, which is truth, which is of the truth we speak. But as of Yahweh in the sight of Elohim, speak we in the Messiah. And if we live through Yahshua the Messiah, our preaching should not and could never be different from the teaching of Yahshua the Messiah. It must line up like our Savior, Yahshua the Messiah, live preaching the glad tidings of Yahweh. Go to chapter 6. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 3. Say, giving no occasion of stumbling in anything that our ministration be blamed, but in everything commending ourselves as ministers of Yahweh, in much patience, in affliction, in necessity, in distressing, in stripes, in imprisonment, in tumult, in labor, in watching, in fasting. So yes, we must remain strong in this warfare. We must keep the law of Almighty Yahweh as pure and not defiling. In pureness, in knowledge, in long suffering, in kindness, and in the Holy Spirit, in love, unfeigned, in the word of truth, in the power of Yahweh, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left. So this should be us, always clothed with that. With the word of truth, it should always be there, close into our heart, so that we would not accept the lies and the false teaching, or go teaching others about those false doctrine. By glory and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, as unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold, we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing all things. And these are for those that do that. Keep the word of Almighty Yahweh, that run the race strong, sinking themselves in the truth, that remain preaching the glad tidings in spirit and in truth. You will go through all these things, but yet we must prevail. We must remain strong. Yes, this is the power of Almighty Yahweh. We should not become weary of His plan or turn to false teaching. 1 Thessalonians 2 verse 3. 1 Thessalonians 2 verse 3. It says, for our exhortation is not of error, nor of uncleanness, nor in guile, as Paul and the apostle went through the land. They strive hard to keep the word of Almighty Yahweh as pure as possible, not defiling it or compromising with the word. There should not be no error or uncleanness, nor in guile. But even as we have been approved of Yahweh to entrust with the glad tidings, so we speak not as pleasing men. We don't do it to please any man. We should not. As Paul is saying, when we go out to preach the glad tidings, it is for Yahweh, not no man. If He approve us and He entitled us to go out there, no man shouldn't hinder us or make us speak otherwise of the word of Almighty Yahweh. So we speak not as pleasing man, but Yahweh who proves our heart. We do it for Yahweh. We go out. It is not for no man, or to please them, or how they are feeling. We water down the word of Almighty Yahweh. We preach it as how the word of Almighty Yahweh says in. For neither at any time we were found using words of flattery, as you know, nor a cloak of covetousness. Elohim is witness, nor seeking glory of man. We didn't do it for those things, but to be pleasing in the sight of Almighty Yahweh, to preach a word in truth, always, and preach it as it is, neither from you nor from others, when we might have claimed authority as apostle of the Messiah. We don't look for that from anyone, but we preach it. Glad tidings. We don't seek nothing from anyone, or should not, but they should accept the word of Almighty Yahweh as it is. But we were gentle in the midst of you, as when a nurse not cherish her own children, even so being affectionately desirous of you, we were well pleased to impart to you not the good tidings of Yahweh only, but also our own soul, because you had become very dear to us. Yes, as they went out day and night, preaching the glad tidings of Almighty Yahweh, despite of whatever they may have encountered, they remained faithful. That didn't change them to go after false doctrine, but to preach against it, to stay away from it, to live a life of truth and believe in the word of truth. For you remember, brethren, our labor and travel, working night and day, that we might not burden any of you. We preach to you the good tidings of Yahweh. It was always that our labor wasn't for this world, for the gains of this world. It was helping others onto the pathway of truth, making them see that the word of Yahweh is truth, and no other can be likened. You are witness, and Elohim also, how holy and righteously and unblameless we behave ourselves towards you that believe. You should see it. You have saw it for yourself, how the manner of life that they have lived. And so we shall live that life unblameably and righteous in the sight of Almighty Yahweh. As you know, we have dwelt with each one another, as a father with his own children, exhorting you and encouraging and testifying to the end that you shall walk worthily of Elohim, who called you into his kingdom and glory. So yes, we are going down that narrow path unto eternal life, but we must remain faithful. We must have the word of truth ever before us in our heart, never drifting on the other side where the false doctrine is, but always there where the truth is and the word of Almighty Yahweh is. Galatians chapter 1. And so many in the time of the apostles, they have left the truth and they went quickly, drifting on the other side. They could not find their own pleasure there, or what they could have done for their game. So they move away, they drift away from the truth to go after lies and false teaching. He said, Galatians 1 verse 6, I marvel that you are so quickly removing from him that call you in the grace of the Messiah to a different good tidings, to a different doctrine, which is not of Yahweh and of the Messiah. They come and so quickly as they hear thus says Yahweh, they remove. And they go on. They don't want to remain there where the truth is being spoken from Yahweh himself. But they run away seeking themselves teachers, heaping them up, listening to lies all their lives, unto even destruction. Which is not another, only there are some that trouble you and will pervert the good tidings of the Messiah. And there are many now, in even our time, that are doing that are twisting the teaching of Yeshua the Messiah, the word of truth, into false doctrine. And so many are going after them. But though we or angel from heaven shall preach to you an evangel other than that which is we preach to you, let him be anathema, and be accursed. Preaching otherwise, you will receive a penalty. You will be cursed when you go and preach otherwise, when you mix even using the word of Almighty Yahweh and mixing it to teach others, false teaching. Yahweh said that you should not add or take out, because I'm going to judge for that. I'm going to judge for that. As we have said before, so I now say again, a man boldly speaking, he wasn't afraid. He go it over again. If any man preaches to you any good tidings other than that which you receive, so then it tells us that there is one truth. There cannot be many. One good tidings, there cannot be many. He said, if any man come with another, cannot be another truth. It must be one according to the word of Almighty Yahweh. Other than that which you receive. Yahweh has been teaching. You have received the word of life and truth. If another will come, what will you do? Do we believe in the word of truth? Let him be anathema. For I am not seeking the favor of men. For am I seeking the favor of man or of Elohim? Am I? Or am I striving to please men? if I was still please a man, I should not be a servant of the Messiah. I shouldn't be called a minister. And I should not be walking this way teaching the word. If I am just seeking of a man glory, just because he says that I'm going to water down the word to please that individual. Yahweh said that I am not a respecter of any man or person. So we should be. If they them don't like it, well, they're going to leave. But we must remain speaking the truth and truth always. That shouldn't change us to go and lighten down the word of Almighty Yahweh. We should be bold, as Paul is saying. Am I seeking the favor of men or of Elohim? He said, I'm not seeking that. I'm seeking to please Almighty Yahweh, not no man. And he went through it and we saw it. They hated him for his works, for being bold in Almighty Yahweh, for speaking the truth also. They hated him. Even Yahshua the Messiah, they hated him for speaking what? The truth. Because they believe in lies. He tell them that. You believe in lies. If I was still pleasing man, I should not be servant of the Messiah. Honest walk is nothing about pleasing no one but Almighty Yahweh. You teach the glad tidings, yes, you help one another, but if that one don't like it, it's not to please them, water down the word of Almighty Yahweh. But preach it as it is. Yes, we are called to stand in the truth, as the title of the message is, standing in the truth. You're going to remain, and we should remain standing in the truth despite of what may happen to us. Wherever we go, we should remain in the truth, standing firm, for there is no other place. Matthew chapter 5, Joshua said it also, verse 17, he said, think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophet. I came not to destroy it, but to fulfill it. And he walked the earth fulfilling it by his teaching, by the life he lived. He didn't came and destroy no law. It is still abiding, even for us today. And Yahweh said it from the beginning, it remained the same, even Joshua preaching, the apostle preaching afterwards. And we are blessed to have it here before us, the word of truth, that we can preach it also, that is living forever. But truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass away from the law. Nothing is going to done away there. It remain and remain forever, the word of Yahweh. It is not going to change. The truth will forever be there. It is whether we want to believe it or not. If we choose truth or false teaching, till all things shall accomplish. But whoever therefore break one of these least commandments and shall teach it also to men. You want to go to teach others to break it? You tell others that it's okay to break some of the commandments of Yahweh and to keep some. Shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever shall do and teach them, he shall be great in the kingdom of heaven. Those that preach it, those that live their life in the truth, those that do it shall be great in the kingdom of heaven. That kingdom that is to come must be for the law-abiding people, those that keep the law of Almighty Yahweh in spirit and in truth. For I say to you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of a scribe and a Pharisee, you shall in no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven. Except it exceed that. So this shows us that this is a high calling that we must reach, that mark of perfection, keeping the law of Almighty Yahweh in spirit and in truth to enter into that holy kingdom. We know the Pharisees, they had the law, but they was not doing it. They wasn't keeping it. Or believe in the truth also, but they had it there and not teaching others to live according by the word. That we should live by it, we should teach others to do it also. No matter if you don't like it, we should remain preaching the glad tidings, each and every day of our lives to be called great in the kingdom. John 17, verse 17. He says, sanctify them in truth, your word is truth, and forever we are hearing this, that the word of Almighty Yahweh is truth, not outside there or anyone hasn't, but in the word of Almighty Yahweh there is the truth, and the truth is there. And if we are sanctified in the truth, in the word of Yahweh, then the truth should be in us. Then we should be living the life of truth, living according to the word of Almighty Yahweh, because we were sanctified in it. Joshua prayed that we should be that, sanctified in the truth, to live in the word of Almighty Yahweh, to be pleasing in the sight of Him. Let us not forget this teaching of that Yahshua the Messiah has teach, but remember to live our life pleasing in His sight. Judah verse 3. Say, beloved, while I was given all diligence to write to you of a common salvation, I was constrained to write to you, exhorting you to contend earnestly for the faith that was once for all delivered to the saints. Yes, so we are on this pathway, and we are always, each day, fighting for the truth, remaining in this battle for the truth, despite of what may occur. For there are certain men who sneak in secretly, even they were of old written of beforehand to condemnation. The lawless men turning the grace of Almighty Yahweh into lasciviousness. They are turning down the grace, the mercy, the word of Almighty Yahweh to their own gain. This is why we are called to fight harder for the truth, to remain steadfast and unmovable, knowing that we are anchored in the word of Almighty Yahweh, standing in the truth. When these men come around, we will use the word to win the battle, to win the war. Turning the grace of Elohim in lasciviousness and denying our holy Master the Sovereign, Yahshua the Messiah, by their works and by their deeds, saying that they are following Him, but their works are saying otherwise. They are denying Him. They are breaking the commandments of Almighty Yahweh, teaching others also to do so. But we are called to contend, to fight for the faith, never become weary, never lay down our weapons, but forever continue fighting till the end. Yes, it is a high calling, but we must remain faithful to the end. As we seek to close, we want to turn to 2 John verse 10. Verse 7. 2 John verse 7. He said, for many deceivers are gone forth into the world, they that confess not Yahshua the Messiah come in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the anti-Messiah. Look to yourself that you lose not these things that you have worked, but that you receive a full reward. Yes, we are going down this narrow path, drawing closer to the end, and there are many false doctrine out there. And we must remain standing in the truth, never becoming weary, remembering what we are worked so hard for, what we are working and vying for, the kingdom of Yahweh which is to come, that we all may receive a reward. This is our goal, to receive the crown of life to the end. For whosoever goes onward and lives not in the teaching of the Messiah has not Yahweh. And we know the teaching of the Messiah was of the Word, to keep the laws of his Father Yahweh, to do what is right in the sight of Yahweh, to have life eternal. He that remains in the teaching, the same as both the Father and the Son. If we remain there, Yahweh and Yahshua will be there with us also. And the teaching of truth. If anyone comes to you and brings not this teaching, receive him not into your house and give him no greeting. He that gives them greeting partakes in his evil works. And we don't want to go there partaking. As he says, stay away from false teaching, from false doctrine, as we are standing in the truth. If they don't come with that, do not give them no greeting. Don't come, make them come close to you, yes, lest you be defiled with their false doctrine and fall away. Yes, be careful of the false doctrine that are out there. Sink yourself in the Word so that you can build up on truth and truth only. 1 Timothy verse 4. 1 Timothy chapter 4. Verse 1. And he said, but the Spirit says expressly that in the latter time some shall fall away from the faith, even at that time. And so we are seeing it more in these times, that they are lessening down, and just a few that believe even in the truth and the word of Almighty Yahweh, and many are joined away after false doctrine, giving heed to seducing spirit and doctrine of demons, those false teaching. It is not of Almighty Yahweh, but the truth is of Almighty Yahweh. Those false doctrine is of the demon, through the hypocrisy of men that speak lies, branded in their own conscience with the hot iron, forbidden to marry and commanding to abstain from meat which Yahweh created to receive with thanksgiving by them that believe and know the truth. So we see that they go otherwise, they take out and change and try to change the word of Almighty Yahweh to please themselves for their lasciviousness. For every creature approve of Yahweh is good, and nothing is to be rejected, if be received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified through the word of Yahweh and of prayer. If you put the virgin in mind of these things that we are called to do it, to speak to the virgin, to preach the glad tidings, to warn them about these times that we are living in. We don't run away like the false teachers and preach them false doctrine, which is no help even to the hearer. When you preach false doctrine, you are just leading them down to the pathway of destruction. But when you speak the truth, and those that believe also in the truth, they're going to believe and strive to live their life pleasing to Almighty Yahweh. You shall be a good minister of the Messiah Joshua. So it is blessed. That one that does this will be blessed. That aids, that preach these good tidings even in these last days, to help others to remain strong in the truth. But refuse profane and old wild fables, and exercise yourself to righteousness. This is our calling, to refuse those false doctrine, and exercise ourselves each day in righteousness, in the word of truth, forever sinking ourselves there. This is our calling. Don't listen to those false doctrine, because we have the truth and we know the truth. And what is the truth? The word of Almighty Yahweh. For bodily exercise is profitable for a little bit. Yes, we take care of this body. We must exercise to keep it going. But so more is our exercise and our faith in righteousness, in the word of Almighty Yahweh. We must put it out there. Everything on the word, striving to do it in spirit and in truth. For bodily exercise is profitable for a little, but righteousness is profitable for all things, having promise of life which knoweth, and of that which is to come. Yes, we are longing, we are pushing ourselves each day to do what is right, for that promise that Yahweh has given to us. For those that live their life in spirit and in truth will have life eternal. And so we must exercise it ourselves more in righteousness, in the word of truth, sinking ourselves there, so that we may be fully equipped for those false teachers and the fight against the false doctrine. Faithful is the saying and worthy of all acceptation. For to this end we labor and strive, because we have a hope set on the living Elohim. Our hope set there. What are we vying for? We should labor and strive for that kingdom as is coming, to be there as we live in the word of truth. These things command and teach, and we should do it. Command and teach these things to build up one another, not to pull one another down with false doctrine, but using the truth as we do it. Preach these things to those that believe in Yahweh and His word. Let no man despise your youth, but you be an example to them that believe in word and in manner of life, in love, in faith, and in purity, in pureness, using the word of Almighty Yahweh. Yes, we are called with a high calling, and let us live our life standing in the truth always, each and every day of our life. And we close in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 3. Truly it is a high calling to stand up for the truth, but so many are rejecting, so many are leaving the way of Almighty Yahweh to go forth and fight with those false teachers, rather to stand up to fight for the truth in the battle for the truth. If any man teaches a different doctrine and consent not to the sound word of the Messiah, Yahshua, and to the doctrine which is according to the holiness, he is puffed up, knowing nothing but doubting about questioning and dispute of word, of which come envy, striving, railing, evil, submission, wrangling of men corrupted in the mind, and robbed of the truth, supposing that righteousness is a way of gain. If any man, we shall not be like this one that reject, that twist the word, that preach other doctrine, which strives evil, and envy and strife, disputing of words, but we shall live our lives in truth, to be pleasing to Almighty Yahweh. The way of the righteous should not be of any gain or to gain anything, but to have blessing from Almighty Yahweh. So yes, we are called with these words of life, with the words of truth, to live it, and live it to please Almighty Yahweh. Let us remain standing in the truth, so that we all may have a part with Yahweh and Yahshua in eternity. May Yahweh bless you. Shalom.